2021, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Although it was benign, the tumor was the size of a golf ball and had been growing in my pituitary gland for years. It was putting pressure on my optic nerves, and in order to save my vision, it had to be removed. I hadn't even broken a bone before, and now I needed urgent brain surgery. Let me rewind real quick. Back in 2020, I've noticed I was starting to have a problem reading. I've worn glasses and contacts since kindergarten, and so we just thought I needed a new prescription. But then I got a new prescription, and nothing changed. My parents and I spent the spring and summer of 2021 bouncing around from doctor to doctor. Eventually, we learned that reading was not my only problem. I'd also lost both sides of my peripheral vision. An MRI was ordered, and the tumor was found. My procedure was scheduled for September 1st, and I spent the time until then in school, but I tend to get stuck in my head about things, and so when facing a major medical operation, I was a little bit more than preoccupied. It consumed me. I started seeing everything else through a lens of indifference and disinterest. This might sound like your typical case of senioritis, but believe me, it's awfully hard to want to do homework when you've been diagnosed with a brain tumor. September 1st came much sooner than I would have liked. My parents and I arrived at the hospital just before sunrise. And as I waited in the pre-op room, I was suddenly overwhelmed with gratitude. It was hard to handle the weight of it all. It still is. But I didn't have to do it alone. My friends and family were there to support me. I felt it then, and I feel it now. For a while, my parents held me as we cried together. Then, I was wheeled away and into the operating room. I closed my eyes, no longer afraid. Almost 2 years ago, I was nominated by one of my teachers for Ambassadors, a leadership club on campus with a focus on fostering inclusivity and supporting mental health. Until then, I hadn't really thought that the target demographic for a leadership club could include me. I was anxious in large groups and awkward in small ones. But my heart told me to join, and for once, I listened. I've been an ambassador for a while now. I've learned to be more comfortable and confident. I've helped plan and execute countless events, and this year, I've had the honor of serving on the executive board as head of the mental health committee. Admittedly, there were 5 people running for 5 positions, but that's beside the point. I still don't know which teacher nominated me, but I'm so glad that they did, because joining Ambassadors has been one of the greatest decisions I've ever made. Not only did I learn to lead, but I made long-lasting bonds with people I could count on. Ambassadors has a way of drawing only the warmest and most welcoming of people, and I've come to know them as both fellow club members and friends. Besides Ambassadors, I devote a lot of time and effort to music, which I produce on my phone. I also share my process through Instagram and YouTube videos. But unfortunately, I haven't really known that many people as passionate about producing as I am. But that changed when one of my biggest musical influences, an artist by the name of Bad Snacks, started a Discord server. On top of beat battles and sample challenges, Bad Snacks often holds live feedback sessions where people like me can submit their works in progress for her and the audience to critique. Through events like this, I've made rapid progress as a producer. But there's more to it than that. I believe that online communities can be just as fulfilling as their physical counterparts. Although the interactions I had on Discord aren't face-to-face, their positive impact is immeasurable. Here, people previously separated by time zones and generations are brought together by a common interest. But what they each bring with them is what makes the biggest difference. The majority of musicians I've met through the server are the kind of people I want to be when I'm older. Empathetic, optimistic, and unwaveringly selfless. These are the kind of people that make Bad Snacks server a place where I can speak without a sound, yet always know that I'm heard. The last community I want to talk about today is my family. I feel like we often underestimate the value of family as a support system. I know I did. When I was younger, my mom and dad would often ask if there was anything on my mind. But I wasn't great at perceiving my feelings, and so I said no every time. Years later, I started seeing a therapist after struggling with anxiety. But I ultimately experienced a widespread improvement to my mental health. I learned to better express my emotions, especially with my family. I started to share, and they were there to listen. Nowadays, my parents are the first people I go to when I need support, and they're always willing to provide it. The operation lasted 10 hours. When I finally opened my eyes, I was told that the parts of the tumor that had been pushing on my optic nerves had been removed, but there was still a lot of it left. In addition, I had lost most of my pituitary gland function as a complication of the surgery, meaning that I now have to take numerous hormone supplements 3 times a day for the rest of my life. I also wear this bracelet now so that paramedics can identify my conditions in an emergency. But it's really just served as a constant reminder that the life I knew before September 1st will be forever out of reach. And that's been a hard pill to swallow. To add insult to injury, it's now been almost over 4 months post-op, and my vision has seemingly worsened. Instead of reverting to their pre-compressed state, my optic nerves have thinned. I've got an appointment in 3 days to discuss what to do about this, as well as next steps for the remaining tumor. One option is to have another, more invasive surgery. But given the outcome of my first procedure, this terrifies me. Even so, people have shown me that I still have so much to bring to the world, despite the complications of my surgery. They help me see that I still have value, even if I lose my vision. And this is something that I think everyone should hear, no matter their circumstance. We all deserve someone to help us see the light at the end of the tunnel and to help us walk through the dark to get there. If you surround yourself with good people, they'll be there in the bad times. When I finally came home from the hospital, an army of ambassadors showed up at my house and surprised me with cards they had written for me. Most of this year's members were new, and yet they treated me as if they'd known me their whole lives. This is how ambassadors gives me strength. After I updated everyone on Discord about my diagnosis, they overwhelmed me with messages of genuine concern. Bad Snacks herself even took the time to send her support. Many people have continued to check in with me after my surgery and see how I've been doing. This is how Bad Snacks server gives me support. On days when I'm feeling especially down about this whole thing, my dad reminds me that tomorrow is a better day. Not could be or should be, is. And I believe him. In every case, I'm just one part of a greater whole. But the fact that each group cares so much for one individual is what makes it a community. In writing this talk, I had trouble seeing the value in my story. The struggles I've shared with you today are still present and ongoing in my life. How could I draw conclusions from a picture that wasn't fully painted? And then I realized that I can't see the future. I can't see much of anything, really. But the beauty of community is that it gives us the strength to face whatever life throws at us. That much is clear. For now, today is January 7th, 2022, and tomorrow is a better day. Thank you.